Unless you're the 2003 Cleveland Cavaliers, tanking doesn't work. Like, ever.
You play to win the game.
On the surface, tanking makes sense, prioritizing future assets as opposed to the immediate. It's like stocks, the NASDAQ Prescott. Boy, I love that joke. But there's a distinct difference between rebuilding and tanking. Think of rebuilding like tearing a house down to make way for a new one, whereas tanking is committing full-blown insurance fraud. There are 3 pillars of tanking: players, coaching, and organizationally. I don't know what kind of building has 3 pillars, but stay with me here. How do you expect a player to lose a game? Like, genuinely, do you think they'll intentionally drop passes, leave their helmet at home? Like, seriously, man, people get mad at professional athletes for trying? Are we serious? But we all know that athletes don't actually tank. I mean, listen to Cam Newton here.
I don't know a team that just says, we gonna lose this one, fellas.
Okay, man, no one actually expects players to tank, but coaches can do it, right? Coaches can bench starters, call bad plays, including a QB sneak on 3rd and 9. Boy, that was fun. But again, when you analyze it deeper, coaches really can't tank either. It's a coach's responsibility to uphold the culture in the locker room. And the thing with culture is, you can't bullshit it. You can fluff it up all you want with the media, but if you lose the locker room, you're not exactly punching your ticket to Lombardi Town, you know what I mean? More like punching your ticket to Firedville, a place I specifically designed for Joe Judge. Or like Cleveland, they don't really seem to give a shit about anything.
Dylan Gabriel.
I don't think Bill Parcells ever worried about a draft pick. How do I know that? Because tanking single-handedly ruined Doug Peterson's career in Philly. Throwing a game against Washington just to screw the Giants caused an overnight culture crisis in Philly. I'm still mad about it, by the way, but it got Doug Peterson fired immediately. A month after he was in Cancun, and a year after he was in Jacksonville. So, you decide what's worse there. A tanking coach goes down with the ship. That's why Brian Flores, a guy who clearly knows a thing or two about this whole football thing, said no when owner Stephen Ross wanted him to openly tank. He knew he'd be scapegoated. Okay, fine, but organizations, they can tank, right? Again, not really. You can rebuild, but when it comes to intentionally losing games, what does that even look like? Changing the laundry detergent? Hey man, what's up? Can you use a different laundry detergent? We're trying to lose so we can get a quarterback in 4 months. All right, I guess. Do we know which quarterback we're going to take? We don't know yet. All right, if you say so, just don't fire me. Oh my God. Roll Tide. You can't tell a team to intentionally lose because, hello? Fines, suspensions? You really think Roger Goodell is going to sacrifice the integrity of the game so the Tennessee Titans get a higher draft pick? Maybe the Chiefs, but not the Titans, man. Come on. And what are we even tanking for? What's the point of going from pick 12 to pick 8 if your coach gets no respect anyway? And yes, sometimes a star player falls into your lap. But I've got a question for you. What if he sucks? In 2020, Chase Young was described as a can't-miss, Myles Garrett-like generational prospect. And guess what happened? He missed. As a Giants fan, I was pissed that we missed out on Chase Young and ended up with some random left tackle named Andrew Thomas. Except Chase Young's on his 3rd team, and Andrew Thomas was an all-pro. So, again, I feel like an idiot. But there's an exception, right? There's an exception. What if it's for a quarterback? I say again to you, what if he sucks? I made a video last year called We Have a Quarterback Problem, and I stand by a lot of what I said in that video. In summary, the standard for quarterbacks is dumb because everybody has their own rigid idea of success when it comes to the position. Every single NFL fan just wants a shiny new quarterback to rip on. This guy knows his stuff. Even when tanking goes right, there's so much variability when it comes to quarterbacks that it's totally a guessing game. So in order to prove my point, I'm gonna lay out a couple scenarios for you. What happens if you tank perfectly for a generational prospect, but he can't seem to overcome his own franchise's dysfunction? And that's my favorite word, by the way, generational. We've had like 19 this generation, whatever. What happens if you find a great quarterback and he retires at the start of his prime? What happens if you take a quarterback in the top 3 and he finds success half a decade later on a completely separate team? I'm not saying that teams should give up on the whole evaluation process and admit that it's nothing more than a dart throw, but as a fan with no skin in the game, that is exactly how I see it. I'll give you an even better example of tanking gone wild. In 2022, the Houston Texans had a clear shot at the #1 pick going into Week 18. Then coach Lovie Smith decided he was feeling special that day. He had a good breakfast, kissed his wife on the way out, and decided to destroy the future of the Houston Texans. Yeah, people were pissed. By beating the Colts, Houston landed the number 2 pick in the draft. Big deal. A whole season, and this affected not just the Texans, but basically every QB-needy franchise for the foreseeable future, besides the stupid Giants, because we're too afraid to address it. Bears move up to number 1 and trade the pick to Carolina. The Panthers pick Bryce Young, Texans get Stroud. Colts land Richardson, and the Bears get a haul and pick Caleb Williams the year after. At least 4 franchises and 2 seasons of tanking forever changed, all because Lovie Smith and Davis Mills went for 2. And you want to tell me tanking's not random? Okay, man, sure. If the NFL is like a casino, and we're getting pretty damn close to that, then tanking is kind of like craps. You act like you know the odds, but let's be real, you're probably going to get hosed. Only one team can win the Super Bowl, and only one team can have the number 1 overall pick. And it's totally fair as fans that we want what's best for our teams, but we have to understand that you can't always be picking number 1, you know what I mean? No one wants to suck forever, but define success. Is it a Super Bowl? Is it playoffs? Is it having a franchise quarterback? Again, we have such a rigid idea and everybody's different, so it's super hard to appease everyone. The Bears seemingly tanked perfectly for Caleb Williams, and they won 5 games, and Caleb looks like Carson Wentz. Another high pick, by the way. Not a good look for Chicago. Among all playoff quarterbacks, 6 were selected in the top 5. Hey, that's a pretty solid share. Yeah, that is a solid amount. Except 4 of those 6 were not with the team that drafted them. And the 2 that were are Stroud and Daniels, both players on rookie contracts and both players that were second options in their own draft class. You see what I'm talking about here? But this year's different. You really want the number 1 pick this year. There's a difference between want and need, though. The last number 1 pick to win an MVP was Cam Newton, and before that, Peyton Manning. Quite a jump. The last number 1 pick to win a Super Bowl with the team that drafted him was Eric Fisher. And I don't want to cast blame here, but I feel like the 2-time Pro Bowl tackle wasn't the main contributor to the Chiefs' Super Bowls. I could be wrong, though. Patrick Mahomes is another player that proves my point, but whatever. Who won the Super Bowl before Eric Fisher? Also Peyton Manning. And if you want to count Eli since he was traded on draft night, that's fine. 2004. Not exactly a huge sample size. Boy, these Mannings seem to be the only ones that can break this number 1 pick curse. If only there was another Manning coming up in the draft cycle. Yeah, the tank for Arch Manning is going to be generationally annoying. If you tank, get it, anything from this video, if you root for your team to lose for Arch Manning, you're a coward, all right? I'm a Giants fan. I want him for my team. But despite what Stephen A. and other media members want you to think, it takes more than a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. We saw that with the Eagles this year. And the odds are Arch is just going to go to some snoozer team anyway, like the Raiders or the Giants, and be fine. He's not going to fix the franchise. Relying on a 20-something-year-old to fix your entire culture is never a good idea. And that's coming from a 20-something-year-old, all right? I know, I would never be able to fix the Giants. God knows I've tried. I've sent letters. But nothing like rooting for your own team to lose. I felt like such an idiot explaining to my younger sister why I was so upset the Giants finally won. You feel like a moron. And really quick, just while I'm down here, the paper bag thing has gotten annoying. That is reserved for sell the team level bad, all right? Paper bags are overused in the modern NFL. That's just my little mini take, all right? Let's get up. So if fans are rooting for their own teams to lose, maybe it's time to change the system a little bit. We could try a lottery. Hey, those are fun. But then there's lottery restricted picks. And to be honest, a lottery when in a sport with so many positions feels kind of pointless. And could you imagine if a contender got the number 1 pick? God, that would suck. Feels so Eagles. I can't even say it. Okay, scratch the lottery. Maybe we could do like a post-week 17 tournament. But then is that like punishment? We're punishing players by making them play more games and get hurt? Like, what would you even call that? The Ironic Bowl? Maybe what we have works, and maybe his fans were just too critical of the NFL. Nah, but if you really want to see how bad it could get, just take a peek into the hellscape that is the NBA. That league is ran like shit, if we're being honest. I know I sound overly optimistic. Let's appreciate what we have and give the Saints participation trophies, but there's something to appreciating the system when it works, you know? I like complaining about sports. Shit, that's like the whole point of this YouTube channel. But Tanking is a really weird thing, and I hope you understand that now. Tanking sucks on all fronts. Danny Heifetz, my spirit animal, of The Ringer, always says that tanking is really easy in theory, but impossible in practice. And he's completely right. It's really painful losing 17 games. Or, I don't know, 15, whatever you want. So in conclusion, intentional tanking has never worked in football. Odds are if you're picking near the bottom of the draft, you don't have some sick culture, all right? The Giants have been trying to disprove what I just said for the past decade, and look where it's gotten us. We're basically the Jets, but blue. So root for your team to win every time, because odds are a meaningless Week 18 win will probably do more for your culture and organization more than a number one pick. If you don't believe me, ask Pat McAfee. He played.
Culture became this buzzword around sports media there, like 3 years ago. And it's because it's the only thing that matters.
Hell yeah. Hey, Pat, how you feeling about the Colts right now? Where are you at with their culture?
If this guy can come waltzing in here, if Indiana Jones can solve the mystery of how the hell to make this Colts team a professional team again.
All right, then. I guess the culture is at an all-time high. That's a stupid joke. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. See ya.
Ball game.